A single message. That's all it took to shake the foundation of the Defense Department. A leaked signal chat that no one was supposed to see. One that revealed live details about U.S. military strikes. Not rumors. Not speculation. The exact time, the weapon systems, and the mission order, all typed out in plain text. The kind of information that, if intercepted, could put lives in danger. And when Representative Raja Krishnamoorthi read that message aloud in Congress, the room went silent. Because what he exposed wasn't just carelessness.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for coming. Thank you for your service. Director Gabbard, you said no classified information was included in the signal chat, correct?
That's correct.
And President Trump also said there was no classified information in the signal chat, and Secretary Hegseth said nobody was texting war plans. There was absolutely no classified info in that chat. Lieutenant General Cruz, I'd like to talk to you about a couple things real quick. Executive Order 13526, Section 1.4a. This is the Trump administration's executive order with regard to classified information. It says, information shall be classified if its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause damage to national security, including military plans, weapon systems, or operations. You don't disagree that that's accurately quoted, right?
That's an accurate quote from the executive order.
And DOD 5200.01, this is the DOD's manual on classification, says, quote, information shall be classified if its unauthorized disclosure could reasonably be expected to cause describable damage to national security. This includes military plans, weapon systems, or operations. You don't disagree that I quoted that accurately, right?
That's also an accurate quote.
Can I show you I'd like to show you the text that Secretary Hegseth actually published to the world. Now, Lieutenant General Cruz, as Ranking Member Himes said, it says, time now, weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM, we are a go for mission launch. Then it says at 12:15 Eastern, F-18s launch first strike package. F-18s are military systems, correct? Weapon systems.
They are.
Okay. 1345, trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch, MQ-9s. MQ-9s is a weapon system, correct?
They are.
Okay. I think applying the executive order as well as the DOD manual to this fact pattern, we clearly have weapon systems that have been identified. That is classified information. Now, the reason why it's important that this information not be disclosed is that we don't want the adversaries to know what's about to happen, right, sir?
Well, I would draw a small distinction there. You referenced and asked if that platform, those two platforms are weapon systems. They are, but those terms are used all across the globe in a lot of contexts. So it's really about how they're used in the context of this particular document. I just want to clarify that the use of those terms,
I understand.
Yeah.
In this situation, those are operational details.
They are operational details, but again, as you quoted the DOD instruction, it's about operations. So as you further go down into what are the operational details, I think as we had a discussion yesterday, the important aspect, I think all of us are very familiar.
This is classified information. This is classified information. It's a weapon system as well as sequence of strikes as well as details about the operations. And so I think that just piggybacking off of what some other members have said, using the DOD's manual as well as the executive order in operation today with the Trump administration, this text message is clearly classified information. Secretary Hegseth has disclosed military plans as well as classified information. He needs to resign immediately. He needs to resign immediately, and a full investigation needs to be undertaken with regard to whether other similar signal chats are occurring in this administration. I'd like to turn my attention to another topic. Director Patel, according to the DOJ, in 2022, the FBI led Joint Terrorism Task Force, JTTF, in my hometown of Chicago, valiantly led efforts to prevent a plot to attack Naval Station Great Lakes in Illinois. You don't dispute that, do you, sir?
I'm not familiar with it, but I don't dispute what you're telling me.
Thank you. A memo obtained by ABC 7 News of Chicago said that this task force will now be, quote, actively supporting, close quote, the Department of Homeland Security and its immigration enforcement. You don't dispute that either, do you?
I'm just not familiar with it, sir.
Okay. Sir, I just have to say, the DOJ has now tasked JTTFs to shift some resources to immigration enforcement efforts. And I don't say this lightly, if there's a terrorist attack anywhere in the country, including in Chicago, and it was because the JTTFs in part shifted resources, they'll be held to pay. Thank you, sir.
It was a national security nightmare hiding in plain sight that he wasn't shouting. He didn't need to. With calm precision, he laid out the evidence line by line. A text that read, "Time now, weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch." Another message, F-18's launch first strike package. MQ-9 drones are airborne. For anyone with even a basic understanding of classified operations, those words aren't casual updates. They're operational details, the kind that never leave secure systems. And yet, here they were, sent through an encrypted group chat like a weekend dinner plan. Now, imagine you're watching that hearing. Every sentence landing heavier than the last. Because this wasn't a low-level leak. This came from the top, a defense secretary openly transmitting classified information in real time. And Krishnamoorthi didn't just accuse him, he proved it. He pulled out the very rules that define what's classified. Executive Order 13526 and the Department of Defense's Manual on Classified Information, both written under the same administration that now insisted nothing wrong had happened. They both say the same thing. Information about military plans, weapon systems, or operations must be classified. Period. No loopholes, no gray areas. And right there, in black and white, were all three, the audience could see it. The legal text on one side, the signal message on the other. It wasn't interpretation. It was violation. Because when you reveal strike times and launch sequences, you're not just bending the rules, you're endangering lives. Every operation depends on secrecy. If adversaries know when and where strikes are coming, they adjust, they defend, they retaliate. That's how missions fail. That's how soldiers die. And this, Krishnamoorthi made clear, was no small mistake. It was the kind of reckless behavior that would get anyone else fired on the spot. And that's where the double standard came in. Because if an enlisted service member had done this, their clearance would be gone before the message even finished sending. They'd be facing disciplinary action, maybe worse. But when someone higher up does it, suddenly, we're told it's no big deal. Suddenly, it's just a chat. That's what Krishnamoorthi was calling out. Not just the act itself, but the culture that excuses it. The system that protects power instead of principles. He didn't have to raise his voice to make his point. He just held up the evidence and let it speak for itself. The deeper he went, the clearer it became. This wasn't a political fight. It was about accountability. About whether the people trusted to safeguard national security were actually doing it. He reminded the room that classified laws aren't optional. They're there because lives depend on them. We don't want our adversaries knowing what's about to happen, he said, and he's right. Every leak, every exposed detail, sends a signal far beyond our borders. To allies who begin to question our discipline. To enemies who start to sense opportunity. Think about that. One careless message can change the balance of an entire operation. And when that message comes from the top, it sends a chilling message down the ranks that the rules don't apply equally. That loyalty protects you more than integrity does. That's how institutions crumble. Not overnight, but one act of arrogance at a time. That's what Krishnamoorthi was warning about. The slow erosion of trust inside the very agencies meant to protect the country. And he didn't stop there. He demanded more than an apology. He called for accountability, for the resignation of the defense secretary who sent that message, and for an investigation into whether other signal chats were being used to share classified details. Because once a line like that is crossed, it rarely happens just once. The question isn't whether this was a one-off mistake. It's whether this has become a pattern. A new normal where encrypted apps replace secure briefings and national defense gets reduced to digital small talk. This is where the story gets even more concerning. Reports suggest that internal task forces, including those under the Joint Terrorism Task Force, have been shifting resources away from counterterrorism and toward immigration enforcement. That might sound administrative, but the warning was clear. If there's a future attack and those resources were diverted, the blame will fall squarely on those who chose politics over protection. If a terrorist attack happens because of these decisions, Krishnamoorthi said, there will be hell to pay. It wasn't a threat. It was a promise that accountability cannot stop at the lowest level, because that's what this entire scandal represents, a chain reaction of misplaced priorities and ignored warnings. When leadership starts treating classified information like gossip, it sets a precedent. And soon, others follow. Discipline fades. Boundaries blur. The system starts to rot from the inside. What once required clearance, encryption, and chain-of-command approval now becomes casual conversation in an app. And all it takes is one leak, one screenshot, one forward to endanger missions around the world. Krishnamurthi's questioning cut through all of that. He didn't deal in hypotheticals, he dealt in facts. The chat existed. The text was public. The law was clear. And yet the denial kept coming. No classified info. No wrongdoing. Just a misunderstanding. But when the definitions themselves prove otherwise, denial turns into insult. To every intelligence officer who's followed the rules, to every soldier who's paid the price for keeping secrets safe. That's why this moment mattered. It wasn't just another oversight hearing. It was a test of whether accountability still exists at the highest levels of government, that he knew exactly what message this sent to America's allies and enemies alike. Allies look for discipline, they rely on it. Adversaries look for weakness, they exploit it. When top officials handle war plans like casual text messages, it tells the world that America's command structure is fractured, that our priorities have shifted from protection to performance. And that, more than any external threat, is what weakens a nation. But here's the part that struck the deepest chord. Krishnamurthi wasn't grandstanding. He wasn't chasing headlines. He was doing what oversight was meant to do, hold power to account. Because this isn't just about one man, one message, or one administration. It's about the culture of recklessness that's been allowed to fester. When leaders treat classified operations as talking points, they don't just break rules, they betray trust. And once trust is gone, security follows. That's why he called for a full investigation. Not a symbolic review, a real one. One that tracks every encrypted chat, every off-record conversation, every message that could reveal military strategy. Because if this leak happened once, it could happen again, and next time, the consequences could be deadly. Every signal, every keystroke, every lapse matters. And the people responsible for guarding those secrets need to remember that the world is always watching. The takeaway from that hearing was unmistakable. Accountability can't just be a slogan. It has to mean something. When leaders are held to the same standards as those they command, the system works. When they're not, the entire structure begins to decay. That's why this isn't a partisan issue. It's a national one. Protecting classified information isn't about politics. It's about protecting people. Every name, every mission, every life connected to those messages depends on discipline at the top. In the end, Krishnamurthi's words were simple but powerful. Either uphold the law or admit that chaos has taken its place. And that's the question that lingers. What kind of nation do we want to be? One where accountability is optional, or one where every person, regardless of title, faces the consequences of their choices? Because the truth is, silence in the face of negligence is complicity. And complicity is how democracies fade, as this story unfolds. Remember, the issue isn't just the leak itself. It's what the leak represents. A breakdown in discipline, a disregard for rules, and a dangerous precedent that makes every future operation less secure. What started as one signal message could end as a wake-up call for the entire country. The question is whether anyone in power will listen. If you believe accountability still matters, if you believe national security should never be sacrificed for ego or convenience, then don't stay silent. Share this video, subscribe, and join the community that refuses to look away. Because the truth only survives when people care enough to protect it. And when truth has a voice, corruption loses its cover.